Hello YouTube, my Kohanim here. Today I am going to continue my journey of using Gladiator Beasts in as many Master Duel festivals as possible. Gladiator Beasts have been my favorite deck since they brought me to the World Championship of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card Game in 2009, so I am determined to keep making them work. The latest festival, the Anti-Spell Festival, is a little bit challenging to Gladiator Beasts because it makes it impossible to use the deck in a way that I would use them in the advanced format. With Gladiator Beast Comeback gone, you can't spam Tamer Editor to keep summoning the big fusion monsters with his effect multiple times in one turn. Instead, I'm thinking I'm going to play the deck more defensively, leaning on several trap cards, and rely on using Gyzarus to destroy the opponent's cards. I'm also going to combine it with the Tri-Brigade theme. There are a lot of good synergies between the Gladiator Beasts and the Tri-Brigade monsters. I'll put a link down in the description to my advanced format video for my Gladiator Beast Tri-Brigade deck. With all spells removed from the deck, there's plenty of room for the Tri-Brigade monsters. In this video, I'm going to show you a preliminary deck list that I'm planning to use going into the festival. As usual, since the festival has not yet begun, I have not been able to test this deck, and as I play with the deck, I will make changes to it. If you enjoy this video or find it informative, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. If it gets a strong reaction, I'll do an update video with game replays and updates that I made to my deck as I used Gladiator Beasts in the Anti-Spell Festival. I really pulled from my history of playing Gladiator Beasts in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card Game for building this deck. One of the cards I've used in the past in my Gladiator Beast deck is Trap Stun, which is a simple trap card that negates all other trap effects on the field for the turn. So you can use this card in chain to a normal trap card to essentially just negate that trap's effect, but it also basically stuns all other trap cards on the field, similar to a Royal Decree for the turn. Royal Decree is forbidden in this festival, but Trap Stun is not, so it's legal. I used this card in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card Game after Cold Wave was forbidden as somewhat of a weaker Cold Wave to pin down the opponent's back rows so that you can destroy them with the effect of Gladiator Beast Gyzarus. And I think that combo is going to be particularly strong in this festival, where I anticipate that a lot of players will try to use a lot of trap cards, since all spell cards are forbidden. So if you can use Trap Stun and then summon Gyzarus, you'll just destroy two cards with ease and virtually be unopposed. One of the easy ways to summon Gyzarus is by using a Tri-Brigade monster's effect, which can banish Beast, Beast Warriors, Winged Beast from the graveyard to special summon an extra deck monster, and use that effect to summon Gladiator Beast Dragaces. Even though he is a link monster that requires two Gladiator Beast monsters to summon him, you can actually special summon him with the effect of one of those Tri-Brigade monsters because he's a Winged Beast. Since he can't be destroyed in battle when he attacks, he'll always get to tag out, and he tags out for two Gladiator Beasts. So that's already going to put the monsters you need to summon Gladiator Beast Gyzarus on your field, which is a powerful play after resolving Trap Stun. You'll also use Dragaces to summon cards like Augustus and Gladiator Beast Attorix, which can copy the level of a Gladiator Beast to make an instant very quick fusion summon of Gladiator Beast Tamer Editor, which, like in the advanced format and virtually every other Gladiator Beast deck that I play, you can use to summon either Gladiator Beast Heraklinos, which might be good depending on how dependent on trap cards players are going to be, or you can use it to summon Domitianus, which is almost certainly going to be good since monster effects will once again be a dominating force. I think even more so with all spell cards forbidden in this festival. I've actually chosen to use Test Tiger in this deck as well, which is a card I haven't used in a while in any Gladiator Beast deck I've built. The reason that Test Tiger is somewhat outdated, or completely outdated, is because Test Panther is superior in almost every situation, except in this one festival. With Test Tiger and a Gladiator Beast on your field, you can use the Tiger's effect to send the Gladiator Beast back to the deck and special summon a new one in its place. However, with any monster and a Gladiator Beast on the field, you can simply link summon Test Panther, use its effect to get the spell card Gladiator Beast Comeback, which resurrects a Gladiator Beast, and then use Test Panther's effect to send that Gladiator Beast back to the deck and special summon a new one with the effect. So by going the Test Panther route, you'll instead end up with a Link 2 monster that you can use in the Link Summon, the Test Panther, plus a tagged out Gladiator Beast, which is better than just having a tagged out Gladiator Beast. Plus, there are monsters that you can special summon to the field that are more versatile than Test Tiger. For instance, Kashtira Fenrir in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, which I'm sure will one day come to Master Duel. So Test Tiger is mostly outdated. However, without Gladiator Beast's comeback in the format, because this is the anti-spell festival and there are no spells allowed, Test Panther is not nearly as good, because the card you'll generally want to search for is that comeback to use immediately and get the instant tag out and tag in with the Panther. Because of that, I think Test Panther might be worth using, and certainly will at least be worth trying, because it's no longer strictly inferior to Test Panther. And I think in this festival, Test Panther's main use might actually be searching for Gladiator Beast War Chariot so that you can stop the opponent's monster effects. Another major change that I made to this deck that is notable because it differentiates it from other Gladiator Beast decks that I built for either other festivals or for the advanced format is the fact that I removed Rescue Rabbit and Gladiator Beast Andal. And the reason I chose to do that is because with all spells forbidden, I'm not able to use Unexpected Die, which is another card that synergizes with Andal by special summoning it from the deck, and I can't use Gladiator Rejection, which it also synergizes with both the Rescue Rabbit and the Unexpected Die. So with all spells forbidden, the package is so much weaker. So I decided it was not worth running just 3 copies of Rescue Rabbit and 3 copies of Andal, even though Rescue Rabbit is such a powerful card to use. However, I am using Rescue Cat because Rescue Cat synergizes with the Tri-Brigade engine as well, since you can use it to get Tri-Brigade Kitt along with another monster like, for example, Test Tiger or Gladiator Beast Samnite, which could give you access to Test Panther if you want it, or perhaps, as likely at least, Tri-Brigade Fraktall. And then once Kitt's effect resolves, you'll be able to send Nervall to the graveyard, since you use the Kitt in the Link Summon. Nervall's effect can then get you Kerass or Fraktall, and you'll be able to make additional plays. One of the tough things about this festival, not just for Gladiator Beasts, but for pretty much every deck, is that spell cards are so easy to use and easy to activate. I think that a lot of decks, whether they realize it or not, really rely on spell cards to make them more consistent. So I think that consistency is going to be a big issue in this festival for a lot of decks. Fortunately, this is the casual format of Master Duel events where you get medals for winning duels and fewer medals for losing duels. So the festival really just rewards playing, and there's a lot of gems at stake and other prizes. But as long as you play, you'll eventually get all the prizes, and I think the important thing is to just enjoy yourself while you're doing it, which is why I'm playing Gladiator Beasts. Another thing worth noting about this deck is the copy of Mist Valley Apex Avian in here. I was on the fence about this, but I decided I'm going to try it out. Generally, this has not made the cut in any of my Gladiator Beast decks. I would use the Tri-Brigade effect monsters to summon Simorgh, Bird of Sovereignty, and maybe even Link summon it without using the effect of a Tri-Brigade monster to summon it. And then Simorgh's effect would summon the Wind Barrier statue from the deck in the end phase so that my opponent can't special summon monsters except for wind monsters. If you compare that with Domitianus, they can't even attack the Wind Barrier statue, since Domitianus can redirect your opponent's monster's attacks. The Wind Barrier statue is forbidden for this festival only, so that is no longer a viable combo. I considered just dropping the combo entirely, or rather dropping the Simorgh along with the Barrier statue I was forced to drop from the deck, but I decided it just takes up one spot in the deck. Apex Avian, I'm going to try it out, see if it comes up. Apex Avian's not a bad card to use because it can negate anything. And some more Bird of Sovereignty is easy to summon, so I want to spend that one main deck spot and one extra deck spot testing it out. My trap lineup isn't particularly complicated. The Solemn cards are some of the best trap cards in the entire game, so I'm using the copy of Solemn Judgment that's allowed for this festival. It's limited for this festival only. I'm using the 2 copies of Solemn Strike permitted for this festival, semi-limited for this festival only, and I have a pair of Solemn Warnings in here as well, which I think is weaker than the other 2 Solemn cards, but I'm going to run 2 copies of it. The Gladiator Beast War Chariot combos with Gladiator Beast Equeste. You can loop the War Chariot by using Equeste's effect to return it to your hand to keep negating monster effects. That's a combo that's been done in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game since very early on for Gladiator Beasts. We'll see how strong it is. The 1 copy of Tri-Brigade Revolt, because it's limited, is a powerful card. You can use it to summon Chariot, reuse the effects of Kitt and Nervall. So it's just I'm not using Bear Brum. I might add Bear Brum to the extra deck at some point, but it is just a powerful 1-of that you can flip to banish anything. I don't know what flip to banish anything by summoning Chariot. I don't know what the meta is going to look like, so I'm using a copy of Nibiru now. I can drop it to 0 or up it to 3, depending on what the meta starts to look like once the festival actually starts. Same for the Maxx's and Ash Blossoms. I can't imagine a world where Maxx's not good, so I'm using 3, but if it becomes such a trap-heavy format that special summoning is insignificant, then we'll see, and I might cut copies of Maxx. Ash Blossom, I'm using 2 copies. I feel like without the pot cards, it's not quite as good as it would otherwise be to stop Pot of Desires, Pot of Duality, Pot of Prosperity, or whatever their pots. But it is such a powerful card that probably it's still going to stop many cards that the opponents are going to use in this festival. But that's another card that I'm going to keep an open mind about and adjust the quantity as I play in the festival. I think that getting 2 Gladiator Beasts on the field at the same time may be challenging, which is why I'm also using 2 copies of Call the Haunted. I think a lot of times you're going to be using the Tri-Brigade monsters to really get this deck up and running, but I figured I'd test out Call the Haunted. It also synergizes a little bit with Trap Stun in that if your opponent would destroy your Call the Haunted while you have a monster special summoned by it, you can use Trap Stun to negate the Call the Haunted effect, so your monster would survive when the Call the Haunted's destroyed. So not the most significant thing, but worth mentioning. And I'm running 1 copy of Waboku just because I've used it in the past in Gladiator Beast. It's a good card, and I want to see how it does in this festival, because I can imagine it being somewhat decent if this is a more combat-based festival where monsters are battling monsters because spell cards don't exist. The extra deck is pretty similar to my extra deck in previous Gladiator Beast builds. I dropped the Test Panther because, as I mentioned before, it's just not as powerful with only without being able to get Gladiator Beast's comeback with its effect when you Link Summon it. I also dropped, obviously, Link Spider because I'm not using Gladiator Beast Andal, and I dropped Cross Sheep because it's much harder to use the effect without Gladiator Beast's comeback, special summoning fusion monsters from your graveyard. That made room for some of the other monsters, including the room for the Samorg that I was on the fence about playing with Mist Valley Apex Avian, and room for Access Code Talker, which is a potential finisher, as well as a 2nd copy of Gladiator Beast Gyzarus, which I'm really not sure is necessary, but as I do anticipate, Gyzarus will be a lot more powerful in this format than it is in other formats. I think it was worth adding a 2nd copy, and since I do have the space. I'm keeping an open mind about changes to the deck. Once I start dueling with it, I'm sure there will be things that I want to change. I might want a 2nd copy of Bestiari. I might want to make the deck even more focused on summoning Gyzarus, maybe summoning Gyzarus without summoning Tamer Editor first, or Gladiator Beast Andabata to bring it out. And it really remains to be seen what the anti-spell festival metagame is going to look like. So as that develops, so will my deck. Let me know what you think of Gladiator Beasts for the anti-spell festival down in the comments below, and let me know if there are any cards that you think I forgot to include in my deck that should be in my deck that I should try out in future versions of this deck.